Right. In this video, I want to talk about the opportunities available in the teaching field. Okay, what opportunities are available in the UK teaching profession? That is what I want to look at. I'll say UK because I think that's the same system they run across the UK in terms of how schools are managed here. Because schools, they get their own teachers, they have to find their own teachers. It's not a centralized system where you have to apply to a certain office, but you have to apply to particular schools. Okay, so you need to go to the website of those schools, find whatever you want, which I'm going to talk about maybe later on. But before I get there, I want to give my experience here in teaching in this country, because from that I want you to see why I'm talking about the need for teachers, especially in this country, and the opportunities as well, which I have seen firsthand. Okay, that there are opportunities available here for teachers. Okay, so my experience is like this. I'm a maths trained teacher. Okay, so I was trained to teach maths, but then when I started teaching in this country, my first school, I didn't teach maths. I actually taught sciences. Okay, I taught physics, I taught chemistry, I taught biology. That is what I actually taught. Okay, that's my first school. And it reminded me, someone, I think some time back, said a maths teacher can teach any subject. I didn't think much about it at that time. But then when I actually were doing it, then I said, oh, someone said this, and I'm sure this is what they actually meant. Because I really was now a science teacher. And I'm known as a science teacher. I was known as a science teacher in that school. And even if I maybe can happen to go to that school now, they know me as a science teacher, not as a maths teacher. Because I taught science subjects from that was key stage 3 up to key stage 4. Right. So key stage 4 was up to only year 10. I didn't get year 11s in that school. So that was my first school. But what makes it actually easy to teach in these schools, in most of the schools here, is that you'll find that lessons are prepared. Okay, you have lessons there. There's a folder of lessons, maybe all the lessons that you may want to teach. Mostly, you may find that they are there in most schools. That is, if they will have prepared those lessons. So you'll find there are those lessons, and then you can then try and modify them if you want, or change anything, maybe whatever you don't want in that lesson. But then you can modify those lessons. Mostly you'll find the lessons are there, and you just have to teach. So it makes it a bit easy. My second school, I just had one class in maths, and then I had another class in sciences. I think there are two classes in sciences, but I most of my classes were in computer science. So in my next school, I actually taught computer science. With my experience of teaching some computers back home, it became easy for me to actually teach. Although the depth, something that's a marvel, the depth of the computer science here is actually it's good to see, because some of the things I got to learn at university are the things I got to teach here to key stage 3. That is, you're talking about the form 2s, you're talking about the form 3s. That's what you're talking about, and they are doing serious programming stuff. Anyway, that's so I was a computer science teacher in my next school. My third school, I actually started off teaching maths. Then sometime during that term, there was a need for a computer science teacher. Then that is when I switched off to the computer science. So I then had mostly of the computer science classes and a bit of maths. Okay, so computer science up to key stage 11, year 11, sorry, up to year 11. That is key stage 4. Okay, so actually, have an experience of the curriculum here in computer science from key stage 3 to key stage 4. That is all of it. Now, in my fourth school, which is a college, which was a college, then that's when I started really teaching maths. Okay, which is exactly what I'm still doing now, teaching maths full time and no other subject. Now, from this here, from what I have said, You can see the need for teachers, especially in those areas. Sciences, that's the STEM subjects. Then you've got um, computer science, okay, especially physics, maths, computer science. These areas have a serious need for teachers. It's a huge need. If you look at the statistics of the teachers needed in those subjects, you will find, okay, so there is mostly being taught. These subjects are mostly being taught by teachers who are not qualified to teach those, but it's what they have. That's what is there. That's what is available. And if you talk to the teachers in those schools, you'll find that mostly teachers who are teaching maths, teachers who are teaching sciences, are not qualified to teach those subjects. Okay, but they do not have those teachers. So I'm talking about the need for teachers in this country. It's actually huge, especially in those subjects that I've talked about. Now, looking at the opportunities available and how someone can get to teach in these schools from another country. Okay, because I think there are many opportunities that can be available to teachers outside the UK. Now, talking about the structure, maybe to help you see exactly how you can get to apply and where you can get to apply. Let's look at the structure of the schools. Now, the schools get their own teachers, as I said. They get their own teachers. Okay, so the schools will advertise on their website the teachers they want. Okay, so it's either you go to the website of the school, you check what they want, or you check with the recruitment agencies. I think this is the most important. Check with the recruitment agencies because they work with schools and they know the areas those schools need. They know the subjects those schools need. Okay, but I will tell you, physics. If you teach physics, that's gold. You are gold if you teach physics. But this is a huge need. Okay, I will I will not overemphasize that one. Right. So recruitment agencies will help on that, and also you can check with the government website, the Department for Education. They advertise for schools, but remember you don't go through the government to get to a school. You go directly to the school, so they will just have those advertisements, but you apply to the actual school itself. Okay, so that is what is there. But you need qualified teacher status to apply, especially to the government maintained schools. But now, something that you may need to check. Sometime in 2022, the UK government published a list of about 9 countries. Now, those 9 countries were teachers that could be given QTS in certain subjects. Okay, so that was in November 2022. And this was supposed to start the following year, 2023, that is February. So I applied, and then when I got here, I had to pursue my application, see how maybe if I could get that QTS. Later on, I got a response from the Department for Education that okay, we didn't get any cooperation from the Zimbabwean side, so Zimbabwe was struck off from that list of 9 countries. Okay, so Zimbabwe is no longer in that list. I think that list gets countries like Nigeria, like South Africa, like Ghana. These are the schools I remember from Africa. And then there are other countries as well. So, but that doesn't mean someone can still not teach here, because for Zimbabwe to be in that list, it meant, okay, they recognize that the teachers from these countries can actually, or the education in that country can actually meet the standards of education in the UK. So that's why they decided maybe we can give them qualified teacher status, and then they can teach in our country. But anyway, that's a different thing. But that doesn't mean you cannot teach without QTS. You can still teach, and I'm sure they allow up to 4 years. You can verify that, but I think they allow up to 4 years for someone to teach without QTS, especially if you're looking at the government schools in courts, which are the local area maintained schools. That is where they require the QTS. But then you've got some other schools like independent schools, which are private schools. Okay, these are private schools. So you can check on the website, on their websites, just check the private schools in England, check which ones have what vacancies, what teachers are needed, what areas they need teachers for. So you can check those schools, check those schools, go to their website, check what they need, check if they sponsor the visas. You check with the agencies. I will emphasize the recruitment agencies. Check with them because they work with schools. They know what schools they that have needs for teachers. So those are the things that maybe you can look at to maybe find a way of getting to the UK as a teacher. Anyway, I'll provide links to where you can maybe check if you can maybe get some um, vacancies available in different schools across the UK, and check if they sponsor any visas.